So the demons at the top of our banana republic arrested Donnie for a third time. And I have to say, if anybody is playing 4D chess, it's these demons. They bank on their supporters being stupid, but the dirt merchants at the top of this demon pyramid are not stupid. Arresting Donnie solves all of their problems all in one. It's genius, in fact. They know full well that none of these charges that they're bringing are actually going to stick. And if it actually just entangles him in litigation for the next year and a half, that's a win too. Ultimately, if it makes it that far, it's just going to get overturned by the Supreme Court because the charges are ridiculous to begin with. If the Supreme Court overturns it, you question the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. We got to overturn the Supreme Court. It elevates Donnie's stock. It helps him raise more money. It helps him get more attention, more free press. If they were actually able to get him to not run, that would be a win, but that's not going to happen. Tying him up in litigation certainly ruins his campaigning strategy a little bit and takes money out of his campaigning coffers. They perfectly time all of the press releases, all the announcements, all the indictments for when something bad happens with Hunty and Joe. So it keeps their name out of the press and completely hides that. Elevating his stock higher is only going to make it more likely that he gets the nomination versus DeSantis, who actually could beat them, in my opinion, or certainly would be more difficult to beat, let's just say that. And the one charge that would have made it so that he couldn't actually run, the thing they've been saying for the last 2 years, insurrection, they didn't even charge him with that. So they just got to keep this charade going until the primary, and then they can get the strongest contender out of the race. And then you could basically beat him with a non-existent person, a la Joey Basement from his literal basement. They have more than enough firepower, more than enough historical precedent, more than enough news articles and fear prawn that they can push about why this guy is the second coming of some dictator. No matter what they do, they win. And people are all hung up on polling even though it's early, 6+ months out. And that's fine, I get it. You can have your criticisms, I'm fine with that. But let us not forget, DeSantis is not as popular and not as well known as Donnie. It's just a fact. You know who won the Iowa caucus in 2020? Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg won the Iowa caucus. He was a mayor of a small town in Indiana and a bad mayor at that. Yet he won that caucus. And just like that, he got a lot of press. The problem is he didn't have a lot of historical data and a lot of historical evidence that he could actually lead the country. He just checked all the proverbial woke boxes and didn't look very presidential. But DeSantis, on the other hand, who has a ridiculously long track record of successful execution in running one of the most, if not the most successful and prospering states in the union, he would be a real threat to them. He's been working the ground game in Iowa, South Carolina, and New Hampshire, and Donnie has been dogging the governors of those states. Now, I'm not a political expert, but a lot of things can happen in 6 months. And just so everybody knows, this is the breakdown by age of the GOP electorate. 75% of Republican primary voters are over the age of 50. And the speed in which you can distribute a successful marketing message through video, advertisements on the internet is fast. You can change people's minds quickly on here. Through the phone, through devices, through influencers, through advertising, social media accounts, high quality media, etc. You can do an online blitz quickly at the click of a button. Whereas reaching these 50+ voters is a little bit more difficult. It requires a stronger ground game. It requires more time to marinate. Well, DeSantis happens to be doing that ground game right now and also have a lot of money left over for the online advertising and marketing and digital strategy later. Maybe he'll fumble that, I don't know. But I'm just saying, if 75% of primary voters are over the age of 50 and not on Twitter looking at memes of Chris Christie looking like a slob or whatever, there's a lot of stuff that can be done on the ground. All I have to say, there have been just about 1 million come from behind victories where the actual person that was certain to lose ended up triumphant. Donnie wasn't polling so well at this time in 2016, but whatever, let's forget about that. A lot of people online are trying to dunk on everybody that is trying to figure out who might be the best candidate. And just in case you forgot, the best candidate is the most likely to win. Remember that. At the end of the 2023 NHL season, the Boston Bruins had the best regular season record of any team in NHL history. Yet in round 1 of the NHL playoffs, when it really mattered, they lost in the first round to the Florida Panthers, a team that was scoring 40+ points behind. The Panthers then made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. When you're so far ahead that it's obvious that you're going to win, or at least it seems that way, you don't waste your time talking about or spending any time thinking about a person that is so far behind that they don't have a chance. The only reason you would talk about them would be if they actually posed a real threat. Do with that what you will, but it's still very early. No matter what, it's going to be interesting to watch. I just wish so many people would be careful who they dunk on this early in the game. Because the people you feel so much hatred towards, the candidates or the people that might think that that candidate may be better, when your guy is no longer in the picture, let's say 4 years from now, you're going to want a strong leader. And you're also going to want to be associated with people who agree with you more often than not. So let's try to remember that for the next 7 months.